Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of Council on Tuesday, 15th of April, 2025. To start the official proceedings, I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Jara country, of which the members and elders of the Jara community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries and have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation, and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region. Council meetings are audio and video recorded and are made available to the public via electronic media, including YouTube. Tonight we have 7 councillors present, as well as the CEO and 2 of our directors. Councillor Driscoll is an apology, as well as Director Anir and Acting Director Johnson. Are there any declarations of interest or conflicts of interest, councillors? No, thank you. At item 4, confirmation of minutes, 4.1, meeting of council, 18th of March 2025. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Hayden.
Thank you, Mayor. Confirmation of minutes, meeting of council 18th of March 2025. And the recommendation is that the minutes of the meeting of the Mount Alexander Shire Council held on 18th of March 2025 be confirmed subject to the following amendment. At item 12.1, urgent special business 2025-001, common approaches and strategic plans regarding affordable housing and planning policy, record that Councillor Hastwell voted for the motion.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Fantastic. All in favour? That's everyone. Motion is carried. Thank you. At item 5, we have acknowledgements, of which there are nil. And at item 6, we have public time.
Mayor, I'll move suspension of standing orders.
Fantastic. Thank you, councillor Maltby. And a seconder?
I'll second, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favour? Great. We have suspended standing orders. So, councillors, we have 2 pre-submitted questions or statements to public time. We will go through those first, and then we will go into the gallery. So the first question is from, or statement, is from Margaret Rees-Jones. And Councillor Maddock, thank you. That's where I am tonight. I haven't joined my little chart yet. Councillor Maddock, would you read this on her behalf, please?
Thank you, Mayor. So on behalf of Margaret Rees-Jones, she writes, the notice of an application for planning permit for 27 Fletcher Street, Castlemaine, 3450 informs that there is an application for a permit for 2-lot subdivision. 3 important points arise. 1, the land in question has large outcrops of rock and is heavily tread. The 2 sites proposed for building are difficult to access, would need substantial excavation involving much heavy machinery. 2, with the advent of much development in Forest Street / Duke Street for the forthcoming Woolworths complex, plus traffic lights, we are already seeing considerably more traffic along Andrew Street. Traffic will increase when the precinct is completely open, and Andrew Street will be further used as a cut-through avoidance of a busy area. The access of the 2 proposed building blocks will be opposite Andrew Street, and already it is an area that has troubled visibility, especially at times when the sun is blinding. 3, my property has been designated BAL29, which greatly restricted building and adjacent vegetation. It also required a water tank provided solely for possible CFA use. The entailed good access for the CFA, 27 Fletcher Street, would also require good CFA access for both properties, plus provision of 2 resident tanks. Overwhelmingly, development on that restricted site would impact traffic. Upper Littleton Street already has traffic heading to the monument, often with testing of motors and frequently joyriders coming down the slope at speed. And that concludes Margaret's statement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Our acting director is unwell, so is an apology tonight. So I'm going to field this one in her absence. So we acknowledge Ms. Rees Jones's objection to planning permit application PA 210/2024 and advise that this objection can be included in the usual planning process. The planning team will be in contact with Ms. Rees Jones to see if she would like to formally lodge the objection. So thank you for submitting that question. Our second question is from Luz Restrepo, who also can't be here tonight, and I'm going to ask Councillor Haswell to read her question or statement on her behalf.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope that's working and that's audible. So I'm reading Luz's statement here, Luz Restrepo, OAM founder and executive director made by many minds. Dear councillors, Shire staff and everyone listening, I will be attending the April council meeting online as I cannot attend in person. At the last council meeting, I felt disheartened by the response I received. I want to clarify that I was not repeating a question. I was proposing a solution to a shared challenge in our region. Reflecting on that moment, I've asked myself, are we hearing the same things? Have I failed to engage you in this crucial conversation? When people have access to meaningful work and can earn a decent living, they feel included. And inclusion is the foundation of a strong, connected community. Today, I don't have a question. I sincerely want to apologise if my previous messages came across as criticism. My Latin American background shapes how I speak, openly and passionately. I ask direct questions and offer reflections to contribute, not to confront. This can feel confronting, but I'm here to build, not divide. That's why I continue to attend council meetings. As I shared in December, we need ongoing dialogue about the role of small and micro businesses, especially in small towns where large employers are often absent. These towns rely on businesses with just a few employees, people who usually lack the time or support to advocate for themselves. This space offers one of the few chances to have broad, inclusive conversations with all councillors, staff and community members present. So today, I offer an invitation. Let's explore how we can learn from one another and recognise the strengths each of us brings. Business Mount Alexander, Malden Inc., Workspace, Startup Central, Village Business, and the Shire itself. Let's work together to support our business community and grow our region's wellbeing economy. The Village Business team will also request a meeting with Lisa Knight, and we will continue this important conversation with her and her team from now on. I'm also involved in an upcoming regional expo in Central Goldfields on Thursday the 9th of May at the Maryborough Harness Racing Club, supported by their Shire and Small Business Victoria. If any of you would like to attend as special guests, I would happily extend the invitation on behalf of Village Business and the Committee of Maryborough. I remain committed to participating in this conversation and building a future grounded in inclusion, prosperity and shared purpose. Warm regards, Luz Restrepo, OAM. And that concludes Luz's contribution.
Thanks, Councillor Hastwell, and thank you, Luz, for your submission. It's always great to hear from you, and hopefully you're watching online right now. We'll go over to Director Knight for a response.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you also, Councillor Haswell, for reading out Luz's submission. So thank you also for your submission, Luz, and also your reflections on previous questions that were made to councillors at the December 2024 meeting of council and also the February and March 2025 meetings of council. I'd like to acknowledge and thank your passion for small and micro businesses and also the support that you are seeking to coordinate for the employment of migrant women. I would be very happy to continue to meet with you, Luz, and happy to reach out following this meeting to find a time that suits to discuss these matters. So look forward to that, Luz. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Knight, and thank you again, Luz. All right, they are our two pre-submitted questions. So I will go to the gallery. Does anyone have? Yep. All right, so if you'll come up to the lectern, just let us know who you are and you have 3 minutes to talk to us.
My name's Grant Cook. Good evening, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight. I'm not a resident nor a ratepayer of the Mount Alexander Shire. However, I'm in the process of purchasing a property in Taradale. The reason why I'm here today is to express my deep concerns in regards to the lack of communication and inefficiencies within the planning department, specifically relating to the planning permit application of the property that I intend on purchasing at 10 Conlins Road in Taradale. Whilst I'll acknowledge the planning department is not formally on the agenda tonight, the matter at hand directly impacts my ability to settle on this property, which is subject to an approved planning permit. Now I can go through all the dates in which I've sent emails, made telephone contact. I'm not going to do that. I engaged the assistance of Councillor Walker, and when I engaged that assistance, that's the only time I got a response from the planning team. The application was submitted on the 19th of March. So stepping back, I had a pre-application meeting with the planning department on the 26th of February, with a promise that I would get a report of that meeting on the 28th of February. Didn't come. Still hasn't come today. It wasn't until the 13th of March that I had a telephone call from Sean in the planning department, and then pretty much a summary of council's requirements as to the planning permit requirements. Following that submission, there was another email sent to him requesting confirmation of on your website, there's a bit in there about the fees. So if you can do like a planning permit and a building permit for the same fee. Is that correct? I don't know. But that was a question that was asked of him. I still don't have that response. The only response that I got from the planning team was pay the bill. That's the only response I got. So the ongoing lack of communication has caused significant delay, financial uncertainty, and forced a deed of arrangement extended with the vendor that I'm purchasing from. So I urge the council to recognise the need for better responsiveness, clearer communication, and accountability within its planning department. It's reasonable to expect ratepayers and applicants to bear the consequences of internal delays, particularly with livelihoods and financial obligations are on the line. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cook, and thank you for coming in to share your concerns with us. Our director and our acting director are both apologies for tonight's meeting, so we will take your concerns on notice and someone will be getting back to you. Did you, you provided your information? Fantastic. Thank you. We'll make sure someone follows it up. Thanks for coming in. Councillor Walker. Briefly.
Thank you. Just to acknowledge what you have said and that you've blind CC'd me into your correspondence, which I also, one, you've expressed your frustration, but secondly, you have been very polite about it, which is a good move. And I think we have said to you and the concern around the staff being heavily overworked, but that's not to diminish what you're saying, and I'm sure it'll be followed up. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. And thank you again. We'll take it on notice and someone will be in touch. All right. Are there any more questions from the gallery? Okay. Given that, we'll end public time. Can I ask that we resume standing orders?
So moved.
Thanks, Councillor Maltby. And
Seconded, Mayor.
fantastic. Thank you. All in favour? That's all of us. Standing orders are resumed. All right. At item 7, we have petitions and letters. And we have 2 petitions today. At 7.1, petition traffic calming measures on Farron Street, Castlemaine. Do I have a motion here, councillors? Councillor Walker. Oh, well, if you'd like to introduce it first, and then we'll go from there. Could you please put your mic on, Councillor Walker?
My apologies, yes. The petition is from local residents around Farron Street who are seeking calming measures on that street. I can read it. We, the undersigned residents and concerned community members, urgently request the implementation of traffic calming measures on Farron Street, Castlemaine, to address ongoing safety concerns. Excessive speeding and increased traffic volumes have created hazardous conditions for pedestrians, cyclists and local families, with many residents, including children and elderly individuals, relying on the street for daily activities. It is crucial to take proactive steps to prevent accidents and enhance road safety. We urge the Council to prioritise this issue and implement effective solutions to protect our community. That's the petition. Just briefly, I know the people involved had discussions.
Councillor
with
Walker, tonight we're just going to be accepting the petition,
Okay, then I
so
move
there
we
won't be
accept the
a,
petition. Okay, I'll
there'll
move-
be a chance to I guess to talk more, get into the details once officers have had a chance to prepare some further information. If that's
Okay,
all
then
right.
I move we accept the petition.
Thank you. So, if you can have a look at the motion, it's a two-prong. Oh, so there's a
sorry.
recommended
I've
motion here.
recommended that Council acknowledge receipt of the petition and receives the report on this petition at the meeting of Council on 17th of June 2025.
Thank you. And a seconder? Great, Councillor Hastwell. All in favour? That's all of us. So just noting that, yeah, both of these regarding petitions tonight, we are just acknowledging the receipt of them, and also that we'll receive a report within 2 council meetings, which is in 2 council meetings, the 17th of June. That is our standard procedure, and that will be the time when, with officers' information and perhaps some further community feedback as well, by then we'll really be able to get stuck into it a bit more. All right, thanks everyone. So our second petition at 7.2 is from Harcourt Football Netball Club around their user agreement. And I'm going to go to Councillor Cordy for this one.
Thanks for that, Mayor. Council's received a petition on 31st of March 2025 from residents regarding concerns with the Harcourt Football Netball Club's user agreement for the use of the Harcourt Recreation Reserve. The petition is shown in confidential attachment 7.2.1, and I would move the recommendation: 1, that Council acknowledges receipt of the petition, and 2, receives a report on the petition at the meeting of Council on 17th of June 2025. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Cordy. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Maltby. And all in favour? That's all of us again. Similarly, we're acknowledging the receipt of this petition tonight, and we will provide a response and be able to debate it more fully and speak to it more fully at the June council meeting, which is on 17th of June 2025, when we have a bit more information and I guess a fuller context of these matters. Thank you, councillors. At item 8, committee reports, and 8.1, North Central Goldfields Regional Library Corporation Board and meeting reports. Councillor Hayden, would you speak to this one?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the North Central Goldfields Regional Library Corporation Board and meeting reports, of which our Castlemaine Library is a part. The North Central Goldfields Regional Library Board reports and annual general meeting reports from 14th of March 2025. The recommendation I move is that Council notes the North Central Goldfields Regional Library Corporation Board and meeting reports for the meeting held on 14 March 2025.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. And all in favour? That's all of us. Thank you very much. Just briefly on this, I'm obviously one of our council's representatives on the library board, along with Director Knight. I had the pleasure at this year's AGM of being re-elected as chair of the Goldfields Library Board, along with Damien Hurrell from City of Greater Bendigo, who is a new councillor. And we're very excited to be, working on all the good library stuff. So that's pretty exciting. All right. Item 9, officer reports, and 9.1, economy. 9.1.1, approval of proposed budget 2025-2026 for public exhibition. And Councillor Hastwell, will you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Mayor. So the report presents the proposed budget 25 to 2026 to Council for approval to place it on public exhibition for 2 weeks from Wednesday the 16th of April 2025 to Wednesday the 30th of April 2025, and to invite submissions in accordance with Section 96 1B of the Local Government Act 2020. And I move that the officer's recommendation is accepted, that Council gives public notice of the proposed budget 2025-2026 and makes available for public inspection the information required by the Local Government Act 2020 and the Local Government Planning and Reporting Regulations 2020. That Council displays the proposed budget 2025-2026 at the Civic Centre and on Council's website, receives feedback on the proposed budget from Wednesday 16th of April to 2025 until 5 p.m. on Wednesday 30th of April 2025. Hears any person who wishes to be heard and who has provided written feedback by 5 p.m. on Wednesday the 30th of April 2025 in relation to the proposed budget 2025-2026 at an unscheduled meeting of Council to be held at the Civic Centre, Castlemaine at 4 p.m. on Tuesday 13th of May 2025, and those details are to be confirmed. That Council considers any feedback provided and adopts the Council Budget 2025-2026 at the meeting of Council to be held on Tuesday the 17th of June 2025. That Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to undertake minor editorial changes to the proposed budget 2025-2026 if required. Notes a general rate and 3 differential rates will be struck, noting that the final differential rates may change when final revaluation figures are received from the Valuer General Victoria. Notes the service charges under Section 162 of the Local Government Act 1989, and notes the fees and charges schedule detailed in the document, as well as the authorised community organisations.
Thanks, Councillor Hastwell. And do I have a seconder for this one? Councillor Cordy, thank you. Is there any opposition? No, that's good. Well, it is quite good. Then, Councillor Hastwell, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Mayor. And I imagine that there will be a number of councillors who also would like to speak, so I'll try and keep my comments succinct. In reading out the recommendation, it sounds very technical. The reality of the process that we've been through to consider the budget priorities and capabilities of Council has been anything but technical, in the sense that it has been deeply considered and sincerely debated at times. And it's been, I think, a very rigorous process and a very conscientious effort across all councillors, and also with the support of our officers who have put in an enormous amount of work in the lead up to this point. Clearly, there are limits to Council's budget, and this does make it difficult to make a lot of decisions, particularly when there is demonstrated need and also some fantastic opportunities in the community. So it hasn't been an easy process. I've particularly enjoyed seeing the wide range of submissions from across the community, public submissions, suggesting ways that Council might be able to support community, ranging from arts and culture to heritage, young families, environment priorities, and more. There are many strong proposals and very worthy projects, and I think we've all felt how difficult it is to make decisions with limited resources. And I would also just say that even the process of going through those submissions and the discussions that we've had, I think also have helped us to focus on some of the big issues that we will be looking at in the council plan coming up. So it's been a really amazing process, and we haven't been able to necessarily support everything we would have liked to, but I think it's a balanced a draft, and look forward to the public responses. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hastwell. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
Reserve my right. Thanks, Mayor.
No worries. Councillor, oh my God, it happened again. Hayden, would you like to speak now?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly to note and commend the extraordinary and indefatigable work of the finance team, led ably by Director Landy here. It's an astonishing amount of work, as we'll all agree. And I just wanted to add that it's been really helpful for me as a new councillor, as a relatively new councillor, to learn more about the Shire's communities, particularly those remote from my ward. And I endorse the comments that Councillor Hastwell has made. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Does anyone else wish to speak to this item? Councillor, oh my God, Maddock, there we go. I'm so sorry. My brain.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, an absolutely huge process by everyone. I think there's a lot of sleepless nights over this project for officers and councillors alike, and there's no decision in here that's being taken lightly. Noting incredible submissions from the community, and I'm sure there'll be some disappointment in the community looking at which projects didn't get up, of which there are many. And just really wanted to underline that it doesn't mean they weren't worthy of funding. These were all in all excellent proposals, really good ideas, really aligned with the council, or the council strategies and objectives. And it's painful not being able to fund them all. And I'm just reflecting on the comments from the Mayor and the CEO from the last meeting, where Mayor, you highlighted the gap between the funding we receive from federal government as to the needs of the Shire, and just how vast that gap is in the millions, and how that the effects of that are really apparent when we're looking at these great projects and just what we can't fund. And this is a consequence. It's a sad consequence of that. Of course, we tried really hard. Officers have tried really hard. I think everyone's made sacrifices to get this through, but I think we've got it to a place where we can agree on it. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Councillor. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Walker.
Thank you. Just briefly, endorsing those comments. Also, as a new council, it was a massive learning curve. The council staff were phenomenal in what they contributed. I feel a bit contradictory. On one hand, really pleased we got the level of work done and the effort we put in to get there. On the other hand, as Councillor Maddock said, there was a lot of incredibly good submissions that we couldn't support, and the challenge was trying to find an equitable balance within the budget and also not to run a deficit budget. And the increasing demands upon local government is something I think we'll reflect on over the next few months, and I at least will come back to the next budget process a little bit clearer about how these things operate. But I think we're in challenging times economically. There's increasing call upon council to provide services, and we have very limited resources. And within that framework, I do think we've really managed to do the best we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Does anyone else wish to speak? Then over to you, Councillor Cordy.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, it's a really sound budget. I'd like to particularly acknowledge the work of our staff and the executive team, but in particular Director Julie Landy and our Manager of Finance, Keith Caldwell. It's their first budget process for both of them with our council, and they've done a fantastic job. And, you know, when you've got the right finance team in place, it gives you a lot of confidence, and it couldn't have been better working with our finance and executive team this time around. Well, when I say that, it could have been better, because if we'd had a bit more money to spend, then we wouldn't have had so many worthwhile projects below the line. But the budget is an extremely large piece of work, and it basically maps out the major initiatives that are going to be achieved in the next 12 months or so. Actually, I think on reflection, I would like to acknowledge the state and federal government grants that they provide us on a regular basis, because while it's never enough, we do get significant grants from federal and state government, and we'd be in a lot of trouble if we didn't get those. And probably one project, like I've been at the council table for over 10 years, and the first day I started on council, I was driven out to Campbell's Creek Recreation Reserve to say, here's an opportunity, what can we do here? And we're finally kicking some goals at Campbell's Creek. It's a growth area for our shire, and you know, got a new netball court, we've got new change rooms, we've got a commitment in this budget to further change rooms, and it's really becoming a wonderful facility. So, but you know, it's taken over 10 years to get it, and there's still work to be done. So, congratulations to all involved, and yeah, it's a sound budget. For those that read the fine print, you'll see we pay off some money and we borrow some money, and there's a lot of work to make this budget work. But it's a very sound budget, and I'm happy to support it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cordy. Councillor Hayden, you have a right of reply if you'd like it.
No, thanks, Mayor. I'm fine.
No worries. Thanks, everyone, for talking about the budget. It's great. I will now put the motion, however. All in favour? And that's all of us. Motion is carried. So I guess just to sum up from my perspective, absolutely agree with everything my councillor colleagues said. It was a lengthy and difficult process. We were supported immensely by Director Landy and Keith, our Manager of Finance, and the entire executive team and all of their teams within that. We were supported by the community, who provided, we got 83 community submissions this year, which is a massive amount, and they were all excellent. And as was said, it is really difficult to look at the things that you're not able to fund in amongst everything. I think what has been said, we don't have enough money. We don't have the amount of money we need to do the things that we want to do. I think there's increasing recognition of that. As Councillor Cordy said, we are incredibly grateful for the ongoing support, and particularly the untied support given to us by state and federal government with their recurring grant programs. But there just needs to be more so that we can do the things that our community is crying out for us to do, that we know would benefit the people living here. That said, you know, we have absolutely done the best we can here. I had the pleasure of writing the Mayor's message for the start of the budget with absolute help from the finance team, who helped me with some of the language that, you know, I find a bit discombobulating. Hopefully, if you read that through, I've tried to pick out some of the projects that, you know, were really informed by community consultation, the things that we have been working towards for a long time, as Councillor Cordy said. And yeah, I guess the way I've tried to explain a bit in that message what we've all spoken about, which is how challenging it is to balance that need versus the resources that we have, and how it's getting harder, and how difficult that can be when we're all here with the best of intentions, trying to do the best for our communities. So it is going out for community consultation from 2 weeks, starting tomorrow. Please make a submission to it, give us your feedback. There will be an opportunity to speak at that special meeting of council, and the budget will then come through to the June meeting for adoption. But there is one more opportunity to tell us what you think before then, so please do. And councillors, executive, everyone in this room, thank you very much for all your help getting to where we are now. It has been, it's been a hard one, but we have done what we can to craft a budget that satisfies those needs while also acknowledging that it's just more than we can do right now. So thank you, everyone. All right, 9.2 and 9.2.1, Community Grants 2025, Round 1. Councillor Hayden, would you like to introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. Community Grants 2025 Round 1. The recommendation I move is that Council notes the allocation of funding for Community Grants Program 2025 Round 1 for 17 applications and a total allocation of $43,294.78, which we note is $6,705 under the $50,000 limit of that round.
Thank you, Councillor. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Walker. Just confirming that the motion is that Council notes the allocation of funding for Community Grants Program 2025, Round 1, for 17 applications and a total allocation of $43,294.78. Is there any opposition? It's probably for the best since we are, in fact, noting this report, and I don't know if we can not note it, but potentially. Glad that we're noting it, however. Let's keep going. Councillor Hayden, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly to note that the Community Grants Program is an incredibly important program in our Shire. This is one of two in the financial year. And the program is funded by an annual allocation in Council's operating budget of $100,000, split into two community grant rounds of $50,000 each. We've conducted drop-in information sessions in Castlemaine and Maldon, provided community members the opportunity to discuss their project ideas with council officers face-to-face. And I want to commend as well the Inclusive Communities team and Director Lisa Knight for their hard work on this round. These grants are often small grants. I think all of them are $3,000 or less. But they can be incredibly important for community organisations across the Shire. So it's a great pleasure of mine to move that we accept this, that we note this. I think. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Excellent noting. Councillor Walker, would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I'll reserve it, Mayor.
No worries. Does anyone else wish to speak to this item? Don't think you're going to be reserving it for very long. Councillor Walker, it's back to you.
Just briefly endorsing Councillor Hayden's comments. There's some really exciting, interesting grants here. As a person who, prior to being a councillor, has been involved in some community groups, this window is really important and vital for local small communities to be able to go for. So it's a pleasure to be able to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. I will now put the motion. All in favour? That's all of us. Motion is carried. And I'll quickly get my little bit in because I love the community grants. I think it's such a nice thing that we're able to do for the community. And I think the juxtaposition of this right after the budget, it's so nice to be able to say yes to. In fact, this round we were able to say yes to everyone who applied, which does not happen very often. But every one of these 17 people or organisations or groups who applied were able to help out with a small grant. And I think what I really do love about the community grants, and you know, I've seen a few now over the last term of council. There is such a breadth to them. You know, it's not just one thing. There's so many interesting little quirky projects here that might not happen without this small but really valuable injection of funding. And I think back to some of the projects that we've been able to fund in the past through community grants, and you know, it has led to things happening, and it's led to things happening, you know, in an ongoing way. I think they're amazing, and there's so many things on this list of 17 projects that have been funded in this round that are really exciting. And also, I think what really strikes me about this round is so many of the projects are beneficial to the whole Shire. They're not necessarily place-based, as in, you know, they'll only work for people in Castlemaine or Maldon or Harcourt. So many of these projects have the potential to reach people across the whole Shire, and I think that's really special as well. So this always absolutely such a good news story. And as was said, this is our first round. We will have another round later in the year, and our event grants as well. So more opportunities to come. (9.3) Environment, and item 9.3.2, Maldon Historic Central Area Precinct Review 2025. Councillor Hastwell, would you like to introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a very significant review, a very significant project. The review provides a full updated precinct citation of the Maldon Central Historic Area, known as Heritage Overlay 445, and Statement of Significance in accordance with planning practice requirements. The report has been informed by feedback received from the community and stakeholders during a public consultation period, which has been extensive. I would like to move that Council adopts the Maldon Historic Central Area Precinct Review 2025, resolves to seek authorisation from the Minister for Planning to prepare a planning scheme amendment to the Mount Alexander Planning Scheme to implement the recommendations of the Maldon Historic Central Area Precinct Review. That Council delegates to the Manager Development Services the ability to prepare planning scheme amendment documentation in line with the adopted Maldon Historic Central Area Precinct Review, and resolves to exhibit the planning scheme amendment following authorisation from the Minister for Planning to prepare the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Hastwell. Do I have a seconder?
A second, ma'am.
Councillor Hayden, thank you. Is there any opposition? No. Councillor Hastwell, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Mayor. People will not be surprised at all that this is a very significant thing for Maldon and planning and protection of the heritage values in this central area. There's an extensive history that sits behind this stage of development, with Maldon being declared as Australia's first notable town in 1966 by the National Trust of Australia. There are a number of significant studies that sit behind this, including the Maldon Conservation Study, 1977, and then people who have an interest in Maldon heritage will also be familiar with a number of other significant documents, including the Maldon Design Guidelines. This piece of work brings us up to date in terms of current standards and expectations around protecting built heritage in particular, and some other aspects of heritage as well. It's been a concerted effort with our officers here in Council, consultants, and also I really want to pay tribute to the enthusiastic, committed, highly knowledgeable heritage experts that reside in the Maldon area and are unstopping advocates for the importance of conserving and protecting our heritage. So I understand that the Maldon Heritage Network and other members have worked really closely and well with officers of council, and I think that what we've got here is the result of some very rigorous work on both sides. I'm sure there'll be a high level of interest also as when this goes out to display for the planning amendment, and I look forward to further conversations.
Thank you, Councillor Hastwell. Councillor Hayden, would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I'll speak now if I may.
No
ma'am. Thank you.
worries.
Yeah, I think this is an important document for Maldon, an important document for the Shire. As Councillor Hastwell noted, the last substantial survey was in 1977. that Maldon conservation. So it is a very good report, but things have moved along a lot since 1977. In the world of heritage and how we think about how we preserve the past, how we think about the past, what we value publicly has changed a great deal. In the 1960s and 70s, we were concerned primarily with big, grand 19th century buildings. This review is a lot more expansive, both in the geography. It's enlarged the area of the study of Maldon, but also in terms of what kinds of buildings, what kinds of historical fabric are considered to be heritage. And this is really key for us. Another key change with this review, Mayor, is the application of a precinct approach rather than looking at individual and discrete buildings or building fabrics. There are practical as well as thematic advantages of taking a precinct approach. This report has drawn heavily from that 1977 Maldon conservation study. It's also, I think, very well informed by the 2016 thematic history of the Shire, right, where it was identified in that report that we needed to do more work. If this recommendation is adopted by Council tonight, then those people who have suggestions or feedback or criticisms of any of the parts of this will have a chance to feed that back to us when the proposed and consequent planning amendment is advertised for public discussion and comment. And so I invite any of those organisations or individuals who do have a lot to add to be involved at that stage. I guess one other point I'd like to make here is that when I reference the 1977 study, a lot is made of Gold Rush and 19th century heritage fabric, and which is fine and that's appropriate for Maldon. But of course that misses a lot of early 20th and interwar and even post-war fabric. So I'm very hearty in my enthusiasm for this review, and I commend it to my fellow councillors. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does anyone else wish to speak to this item? All right then, Councillor Hastwell, you get to go again if you would like.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks also, Councillor Hayden. Beautifully expressed, I think, and I don't have anything to add to that.
Thank you, councillors. I will then put the motion. All in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, just to support what has been said, we know how important heritage is to many people living in our shire, particularly in Maldon, and what that town means to the people who live there and visit there, and how important it is that we that we protect that heritage fabric as much as we are able to. And that's why reviews like this are so important, because 1977 was quite a while ago, and things do change, and the way that we think about heritage, I didn't mean it in a bad way. Anyone who got offended at the way I said it, I wasn't thinking of it like that. I was just thinking as in what can change in an amount of time. And I guess the way the way we think about heritage has changed in that time as well, and I think that is really important. Obviously, this is kind of the first step, now that we have endorsed this review, to drafting a planning scheme amendment, which is a whole other process. Obviously, this process itself has taken a couple of years, and with lots of opportunities for consultation in that time. And a big thank you to everyone who has contributed and brought your knowledge and expertise to it. There will be another big chance for you to tell us what you think about the planning scheme amendment when it does go out for public exhibition. So that is a big chance for feedback, and I guess any concerns or suggestions that you have, and all of those submissions will be considered and and valued. So watch this space, and we'll keep trying to get it right. Thanks, everyone. Okay, 9.4 economy, 9.4.1 audit and risk committee charter. Councillor Walker, would you like to introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. The recommendation is that council approves the audit and risk committee charter.
Fantastic, thank you. So the motion that council approves the audit and risk committee charter, moved by councillor Walker, seconded by councillor Maltby. Is there any opposition? No. Councillor Walker, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I think I might have mentioned at a previous council meeting, I was fortunate to be able to attend a meeting of the Audit and Risk Committee and was incredibly impressed by the skills and commitment of the people who are the members. Periodically, the charter needs to be revised and updated to keep in line with modern requirements. It comes out of a section of the Local Government Act 2020, and the purpose of this is simply to approve the recommendations and amendments as they have been submitted and circulated to us. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Walker. Councillor Maltby, would you like to speak?
There's no need. Councillor Walker described it well.
No worries. Does anyone else wish to speak to this item? No, then it is back to councillor Walker for a right of reply to himself.
I will not disagree with myself. I'll stick by my moving of the motion.
Fantastic. Thank you, councillor. I will then put this motion. All in favour? Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. And just to echo what councillor Walker has said, really fantastically smart, switched on, passionate bunch of people we have sitting on our audit and risk committee, and we're really lucky to have them. And also just did a great job, I think, of going over the committee charter and making it clearer and more user friendly. So we thank them for that. At 9.4.2, we're still on the theme of Audit and Risk Committee with the Audit and Risk Committee Biannual Report, 1st of July 2024 to 31st of December 2024. And I will go again to councillor Walker to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor. The recommendation is that council notes the Audit and Risk Committee's biannual report for the period 1st of July to 31st December 2024.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Councillor Maltby, thank you again. Is there any opposition? No. Councillor Walker, would you like to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, the biannual report has been submitted to us. It deals with issues of the membership of the committee, their enumeration, their attendance, and their assessment of how we're going in terms of financial and control management, etc. It has been distributed to us, and I recommend it be noted.
Thank you, councillor Walker. Councillor Maltby, would you like to speak to this motion?
It's a very good and thorough report.
Thank you. Does any other councillor wish to speak to this? Councillor Hayden, thank
Just
you.
to concur with councillors Walker and Maltby, it is a very thorough report, and it's always a pleasure to sit in on the Audit and Risk Committee meetings. They, as councillor Walker mentioned, the previous item, an extraordinarily skilled and experienced team. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Does anyone else wish to speak to this item? Then back to councillor Walker for a right of reply.
I'll pass on that, Mayor.
That is fine. Thank you. I will put the motion. All in favour? That's all of us. Motion carried again. I mean, we just really like our Audit and Risk Committee, really. And I mean, we can leave it at that, I think. I'm just going to stop talking. And we'll move on to, oh my gosh, item number 10, which is delegates' reports. So we've reached that time of the night where councillors are invited to share, I guess, some things that they may have been up to in the last month, things that have been, raised with them, the important things. So, Councillor Maddock, would you like to give a delegates report?
Could I just have a few more secs? Could someone
That is
else have-
so fine. Councillor Hayden, would you like to go?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It has been a very busy month in my ward and across the Shire, and I know we've all been very busy. But I just wanted to pick out a couple of events that I think were very important that I was fortunate to represent council on. The first one on the 26th of March was a meeting at Barringup Hall, organised by Mr. Brian Fitzgerald. And I'm grateful to Mr. Fitzgerald for the invitation to come and be able to express council's position on the Emergency Services Fund volunteer levy, and to relate some of the key points of council's objection to the way that's being implemented. This was a passionate meeting, and I'm grateful to councillors Hastwell and Cordy for attending. It was at times very difficult to hear of the hardship faced by many primary producers across the Shire, particularly in that part of the Shire, in the northwest of the Shire. It's a very difficult time, obviously, where we're effectively in drought. I know we haven't had an official drought declaration, but talk to any farmer, we're in a drought right now. You can see that when you go past Ken Curran. It was, I'm sure councillors Cordy and Hastwell will concur, that it was very striking to hear the personal stories of hardship that many of our farming communities are going through right now, and the impacts that this levy will potentially have on them if it passes through the Legislative Council unamended. However, despite the sober nature of that meeting, it was, I think it was a constructive event in that it was a chance for that community to come together. And even though the subject matter was difficult, it's a fundamental way that we build community and work together, even in the face of difficult decisions beyond our control as a Shire. I also want to thank MPs Gail Broad, Marie Edwards and Martha Haylett, as well as Mr. Hepburn from the VFF for also attending and committing their time. For me, as not a local ward councillor at Barringup, it was really great to get to meet and discuss informally before and after with some of those primary producers and hear firsthand some of those concerns that they have. Of course, our advocacy in that space is ongoing, and I want to note that. Also just want to highlight a few days later on the 29th of March, I think along with Councillor Maddock, although we might have been there at different times, I was fortunate to attend the Move in the Main event with Monash Masters students. It's a bit of a blast of the past for me, Councillor Maddock, because I was one of them about 20 years ago, a Masters in Geography student. And it was really great, organised by James Whitten, who's an academic out there at Monash, local to the Shire. Really great to see that energy of those postgrad students and their enthusiasm for active transport and various ideas that only a bunch of mid-20-something postgrads or undergrads, there were a couple of undergrads there, mostly postgrads, would have. The blue sky thinking was really, really great. It was really lovely event to attend. And some of the, I've got to say, the cartography, some of the map-making skills these guys have is astonishing. I was so impressed. So yeah, that was a really great event to attend. And I look forward to reading on their progress as they, I think the team has left Castlemaine, although I had seen them in the following days moving around the town. So they had some considerable amount of time in the Shire. And I just want to congratulate James Whitten for pulling off an excellent event. It was really, really great. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Hayden. Great to hear about both of those things. Councillor Maddock, are you ready for your delegates report?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And that was my first talking point as well. It was a really, I didn't really know what I was getting into, but walking into that room and it wasn't just the 12 students, there were also community members there. Many of our active transport group were in the room as well, and really nice to see the crossover between some of those ideas the students were bringing up, really aligning with some of the conversations we're having as part of that group as well. And also I'd like to acknowledge Lisa Merkenstein's contribution to that as well from Remark Practice and Castlemaine Institute. Yeah, this is knowledge generating and it's idea generating. It can only be a good thing for the Shire, and I'm sure it'll feed back to us in some way. I understand through finished projects that now the students will go and develop. So that's really exciting. It's been a really busy month for me, and I'll probably just list off a few as well. Alliance for Gambling Reform. I attended a seminar with them titled Community Sport. Community Sport and the World's Biggest Losers. Which is not it's a funny title. It's not a funny topic. Just underlining how much we as a community, I'm talking about Victoria wide, I think it's Victoria, lose to gambling each year, and it's significant. And just really sort of highlighted to me just the knowledge. We have a lot of knowledge around, say, pokies and how much we lose in our community to pokies, which is vast. But not really understanding how much we're losing to emerging gambling platforms such as online betting. So this forum was really sort of highlighting the link between, or the role that community sport can play in either preventing future use of these types of things, or the opposite of that, feeding this kind of industry. So really valuable and quite enlightening for me to attend. I attended Democratic Wellbeing, which was an event held by the Castlemaine Free University, which was this is at Northern Arts Hotel, a really interesting event. Looking at and discussing ways we can make our democracies at all levels healthier and more constructive. And that was a very well-run event with some really interesting and also confronting ideas. Obviously, democracies are being challenged, perhaps around us at least, in ways that we haven't seen, at least for a long time. So it's a very timely thing to engage with. And then just lastly, noting the Fringe events, so the Fringe opening party and more recently the Monster Mash. The Fringe opening, especially fun for me, the Monster Mash, especially fun for my kids. They're both just awesome, free, accessible events that I think really sort of, there's something for everyone at these. And I will just note a few issues that are coming up a lot in this last month. The Nature Strip guidelines, consultation closed on the 17th of March. The community is still talking about this a lot, or to me at least. I'm noting and I'm sharing a lot of those concerns with the community. Footpath, the new footpath running along Woolworths on Duke Street that ends at a what do we call it? A loading bay, which is going to cause significant problems for pedestrians, particularly wheelchair users, people with pushers. It's again, I'm noting those concerns and sharing them. And then similarly, it's a lot around this precinct, the Andrews Street taking on extra traffic, really hearing those concerns about that potentially becoming a shortcut to avoid the congestion around the new traffic lights, and then going through Mostyn Street and the school there. Just noting that I'm sure we will be watching that closely. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors.
Thanks, Councillor Maddock. Councillor Cordy, do you have a delegates report?
Yeah, just briefly, Mayor. Mount Alexander Vintage Engine Club had their 2-day rally on the weekend, and it was a fantastic event and a credit to the organisers. Why I'm mentioning it is some of our people were there gathering information going towards our council plan, so that was really good to see. And the other one, just briefly, was there was a drop-in session at the bowling club on Friday night, and again, council staff were in attendance, basically out of hours, but seeking advice from the local community. So wonderful to see the input from our staff and consultant team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Haswell, would you like to do a delegates report?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there has indeed been an incredibly busy month. I guess if we go around the table and hear all of those activities that have been going on, it's pretty mind-blowing. I've also been very busy and from one end of the spectrum to another, and I'm just thinking, picking up on Councillor Hayden's really great summary of the meeting out at Barringup Community Hall with the focus on the proposed emergency services and volunteer support levy. That was a very eye-opening meeting, very well attended. I think there was something like 70 in the room. That's an extraordinary number for what is a very small community. And often I think when we can have a focus on the bigger population centres and sometimes not be as conscious of the challenges that are going on out in those communities there. Those challenges were really evident, as Councillor Hayden said, that there were very genuine and sincere expressions of some of the hardship, and but also some of the resilience and the community strength that exists there. I also last night attended the Barringup Community Committee meeting, and once again the proposed levy was a topic of conversation, but other issues that were being raised there particularly focused on the challenges, or if you like, the concern that the community has there around proposed developments in the vicinity of Barringup, which may have potentially significant impacts. So I guess, being in those parts of the ward, you're very aware of the fragility and the exposure to a range of really big impacts that often feel like they're beyond your power to control. So thank you to the people of Barringup for opening the doors and inviting us in to understand better and to work with you and support where we can. I did say the point of contrast. I'm going to choose as my point of contrast the event that I went to on the 1st of April, also together with the Mayor. So the 100-year celebration of the Maldon Croquet Club. So a very, very different part of the community, although not so different always. I'm not sure, but I think it's quite possible that there were members of the Barringup community at the Maldon Croquet Club as well. But it was absolutely delightful and a really beautiful celebration of a significant place and tradition and ongoing club. Some of the things I think we were reflecting on were we often talk about things like healthy aging. I think there's a phrase, a favourite phrase, which is healthy and active aging, which always sounds to me like something that you've got to do rather than to be. I'm not criticising in any way, but I think what came through at that centenary and the community there was how important happy aging is. So when people get together and share joy and fun, how much a difference that makes. I've also been meeting with the Maldon Heritage Network. I had a fabulous meeting also with a group of 5 different local environment groups, and incredibly impressed by the volunteer efforts and commitment and knowledge that goes towards trying to address some of our very significant environment issues, including control of noxious weeds. I'm not going to speak now because the lights have gone off. What happened? Okay. Will we all be awake when they come back on? Yeah, here we are. Great. Thank you.
I think when this happened last time, I said, imagine if they turned back on and I was just gone. But I'm not. I'm still here. Please continue, Councillor.
Thank you. I didn't know whether that was a message. Subtle. So yes, environment groups. I also held a listening post at the Malden Market on Sunday. Always really fantastic to be out there amongst the community and directly relating issues that were coming up there. Again, issues that we know are significant in the Tarrangale ward and other parts of the Shire as well, but traffic safety. So the impact of heavy truck traffic through fragile towns and exposure to risk, and also the impacts on amenity, an ongoing issue that we're looking at. And other than that, I think I'm going to say Happy Easter. I think, you know, being the ward councillor that takes in Malden, I absolutely have to say to anyone who's not aware, Malden Easter Festival, it's the place to be. It's an amazing tradition. The parade in particular is just like no other, but there's also so many quirky, inclusive, fun events going on. There's scones, there's go-kart racing, you name it, it's there. Yeah, a call out to all of those volunteers, those very hardworking volunteers and groups in Malden that bring that to life every year. Apparently that's right, here we go. The first Easter fair in Malden was started in 1878. So that's quite, you know, that's quite a track record. And of course, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes to enable these big events. And once again, I want to acknowledge the team, the teams internally within council here that work with the organisers of events such as the Easter Festival to make it possible, to make it safe, to make sure it's compliant with all the things it needs to be compliant with. So on that note, Happy Easter.
Thank you, Councillor Hastwell. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Reinforcing what others have said about a fairly busy month, along with the Fringe Festival and some of those events which are excellent, a couple of other things within Castlemaine itself. Attended on behalf of council the launch of the LEAD Leadership Forum for this year, which was a nice event with Deputy Mayor Hayden had a meeting with the Minister for Health, Mary Ann Thomas, whose state electorate covers 2/3 to 3/4 of my ward. And that was a very productive meeting. We raised the growing concerns around the way the volunteer emergency services fund is being managed, some of the challenges that council faces in terms of funding constraints with increasing demands. I think we had a productive meeting there. And finally, I'd mention last Thursday of every month, I do my listening posts in different locations. Elphingston, Taradale, Chewton. People can find out the times and the venues on their Facebook page, in their local newspaper, and on their community notice board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. All right. Is everyone good for delegates' reports? Fantastic. All right, I might go then, and then the CEO. I've also had a busy month. I think it's just a busy month. Generally, that kind of March to April time, it seems to get busy around this time, although it's been busy since the start. I've been doing heaps of things. I think one of the things that I feel like I focused on quite a lot this month was media around the advocacy we're doing for funding our affordable housing projects, particularly out the back here on Templeton Street. We're really going quite hard, trying to get a commitment from federal government to fund that project, which we would still really like, and we will continue to advocate for that. So I did a couple of radios and one TV as well, which is not my favourite thing, but I still did it. As others have said, been to some really nice things. The Fringe Festival I thought was incredible. Got to go to some things, including the opening night party, but obviously not as many things as I would like to, because there was just so much on. It was a real pleasure to go to Victorian Goldfields Railway's 20-year anniversary ceremony. So this is of them running the train between Castlemaine and Malden again. So I was lucky enough when I was 5, for my 5th birthday, to go on the steam train to Muckleford. and I was able to bring the toy and the book that I took on that journey on this trip, which I was also able to take my younger daughter, which was just so lovely. And the people there, the Victorian Goldfields Railway people, are just so lovely, and they just want people to come and ride their train and be as excited about the train as they are, and they're just so welcoming. So that was a really, really pleasant experience. And obviously, you then end up in Malden, which is fantastic. So that was really lovely as well. With some of my fellow councillors, we all went up to the top of Mount Alexander, Leanganuk, to attend the launch of the Goldfields Track Visitor Interpretation and Engagement Project, which makes it sound quite dull, actually. I think often the names of projects make them sound worse than they are. What this project actually is quite beautiful interpretive signage all along at least a stretch of the Goldfields Track, kind of between here and over that way somewhere, a bit that is not in our shire, but really closely designed with First Nations people. And it just sounds like it's been a really beautiful project. I was very impressed with the ceremony and the signage. And I think for those people who, don't regularly use the Goldfields Track, it is a good one. It is a really beautiful, quite long walk, actually. I once walked the entire thing when I was about 14, and I got a whole week off school. So it was quite enjoyable for that reason, but a very long journey otherwise. As Councillor Haswell said, we went along to the Malden Croquet Club's centenary celebration. It was really nice. Again, really welcoming, lovely people, absolutely having a happy time. And just so chuffed to still be going after 100 years, I think. What else did we do? Sorry. Oh, I had my own listening post, my first of the year, at the Castlemaine Market Building on the weekend, accompanied by our works coordinator, Glenn Deaker. We had a really good time, heaps of engagement, lots and lots and lots of interest, and I was going to say enthusiasm, lots of interest in our roads. I think the general sense that I got from many people, many of them who live out your way, is that we need to spend more money on roads, which, I was able to say, I know that. We need more money so that we can spend more money on roads. But we had some really valuable conversations around funding and roads particularly, but also when I got sick of sitting in one place, I just went out on the town and accosted people with our council plan flyers nicely, and did some quite aggressive community consultation, nice aggressive community consultation. So that was really nice too, because just by going up to people in the street and going, hello, do you live here? I am the mayor. You end up having some quite interesting conversations. I met lots and lots of locals who I have never met before, as well as some tourists who really said a lot of nice things about our shire. So it was just a really nice day to get out in that kind of way on the steps of the market building in the sun and get to have those conversations with people. The last one that really has been the thing that's been filling my cup this month is all the consultation work I've been doing with kids and young people to kind of get their thoughts on what matters to them now, what matters to them into the future, to inform our council plan and municipal public health and wellbeing plan. So I've been lucky enough to get to so far both the Malden and Newstead preschools, Castlemaine Kindergarten, Elphinstone and Harcourt Valley Primary Schools, Busy Bees in Castlemaine and Castlemaine Childcare Cooperative. So a lot of the time was talking to 3 and 4 year olds who just have some fantastic ideas, I must say, and also did some lovely pictures of particularly playgrounds, very enthusiastic about playgrounds and pools. It's just so nice. And I have to say, it's something that I will continue to advocate for, that we spend as much time as we can talking to kids and young people as well, because they have really great ideas, that kind of blue sky thinking that you were speaking about before. And just, they don't, I guess in many ways they don't have any preconceptions about council. If I kind of stroll into a room and go, I am the mayor, what do you think a mayor does? The range of answers I get is quite staggering and very fun. So it's been a real honour to to be invited into these places and trusted with these kids to just kind of wander amongst them and talk to them about the nice things that are already happening in their lives and the things that they think would make their towns or their, the places where they spend a lot of time even better. So that's just been fantastic. Yeah, over to you, CEO.
Thanks very much, Mayor. To go back to the first item that you mentioned, Mayor, first of all, thank you for all the work you've been doing on promoting the Templeton Street affordable housing project on behalf of council in this federal election process that we're in. As you and the council as well appreciate, Mayor, that despite having a fantastic partner in Haven Home Safe and Wintringham for other developments, having your commitment to put land on the table as well as some funds in some instances, and really strong community support for the proposals that we've got at the moment. Trying to make those proposals fit into funding arrangements is really challenging for a council of our size. There's some very big funding streams out there, but they tend to be very challenging for us to be able to compete for scale and for cost to build and a variety of other elements to those programs. So this is a really big opportunity that we see, of course, to gain a commitment from the candidates in this election to fund that Templeton Street site. We want $15 million to help deliver 22 dwellings on that property. And we need the community to get involved in that process as strongly and as loudly as they can, so that all of the candidates in the election get behind that project and commit to it. So thanks for your work, Mayor. We now want to see some great responses from some candidates, but again, the more that the community can let the candidates know about how important that project is, the better. The other one, while I'm talking about people pushing for things in our community, Mayor, I did get to catch up with a resident who is pushing really strongly and is driving a petition for the reopening of the Harcourt Railway Station, something that this council's talked about for quite some time as well, and has a strong desire to see that happen. I believe they've got more than 800 signatures on their petition, which they're going to be presenting at some time in the near future to Parliament, not to you, because they realise that it's not your gig, but they very much appreciate that we are well aligned, is what I would say, in our desire to see that happen. So good luck to them, and we will obviously continue pushing for that reopening and a commitment to the reopening of the Harcourt train station sooner rather than later. Thanks, Mayor.
No worries. Thank you, CEO. And that's exciting to hear that advocacy is continuing. Of course, we are, in principle supportive if the train station is in an acceptable place, I think, is our caveat on the end of that, because last time we visited the idea, the train stations were just in such inaccessible places as to make the project not very attractive. So we're hoping to get a train station where people actually are, but having Harcourt back on the train line would be absolutely massive. So that's very exciting. Great. Excellent delegates reports, everyone. Wonderful to hear about what everyone's been up to and getting out and about. We're really lucky to have the community and the communities that we do, and to, be generally very, very welcome and acknowledged and just part of things. It's such a lovely part of this job, I think. So item 11 is notices of motion. We have nil. Item 12, urgent special business. There is nil. Item 13, confidential items, there are nil. And at item 14, I will close the meeting at 7:53 p.m. Good job, everyone.